Hello everyone, welcome back to our S5 history class. If you remember, in the last recording we talked about three political ideologies that were at work in the 19th century. These ideologies were, on the one hand, partly responses to the French Revolution, and on the other hand, you could see that they were rooted in that momentous event. Remember what I told you once in class, that there isn't only a single French Revolution. There are actually several. Okay? So you can understand that once the revolutionary spirit was released, once it was out there, it was very difficult to stop, despite the efforts of the European powers, those leaders at the Congress of Vienna. So we're going to talk about a single year, 1830, when there were several revolutionary outbursts across Europe, some of them more successful than others. And interestingly, we have to start with France, where you have the July Revolution of 1830. So you have the Bourbon king, King Charles X. His subjects were not happy with him because of his authoritarian policies. So, for instance, he dissolved parliament, he suspended press freedom. You can understand that people were unhappy because of these decisions on the part of the king. Rebels were successful in overthrowing him, and they were also at the same time successful in installing a constitutional monarchy. Charles X's replacement was Louis Philippe, and he was proclaimed the King of the French, not the King of France. Notice the name there. That signals a shift from the hereditary or divine right to rule to a clear understanding that the king's power came from the people. So there's a shift from one understanding of sovereignty to another, a shift towards the idea of popular sovereignty, or the idea that the right to rule comes from the people. Just a note, Louis Philippe's reign is called the July Monarchy because it's named after the July Revolution of 1830. So in a neighboring country, Belgium, you would also have a revolution in the same year. So Belgium, the territory of Belgium, was annexed to the Kingdom of the Netherlands in 1815. The Belgians weren't happy about this. They wanted to form their own state. Again, nationalism, given that they had a sense of their own identity. The King of the Netherlands, William I, refused to negotiate with the rebels. So you have this phenomenon again of positions crystallizing, hardening. There was heavy fighting in September 1830. Sorry, that's a mistake. And then eventually the rebels would win and they would import a king, King Leopold I. He was proclaimed the King of the Belgians. Just like in France, he wasn't the King of Belgium. There was a clear signal that there was a shift from, again, hereditary or the idea of the divine right to rule to popular sovereignty. Again, just a note, you can see here clearly that the people wanted to have a king, probably because they were afraid of repeating or reproducing what happened, the violence, the kind of violence that happened in the French Revolution. Like I said, there were other revolutions in other parts of Europe. Remember that in the aftermath of the defeat of Napoleon, Poland was given to Russia, and the local army the local Polish army revolted in Warsaw. Other parts of society joined in, and the spirit of this revolt spread throughout the country. But unfortunately, Russia sent in its imperial army, and it was successful in crushing the revolution. Parts of Italy revolted as well. After the Congress of Vienna, there were 9 Italian states. One ruler, the Duke of Modena, wanted to expand his territory. He wanted to become king. He sent the message to revolutionaries in other parts of Italy. He encouraged them. Also, people in the Papal States revolted. But given that kings were wary of any kind of revolution, France promised to Austria that if they did something, France would support them. So in the end, the Duke of Modena lost his nerve and abandoned his supporters and the other people who were planning to revolt. So the following year, in 1831, Austria sent in its army and was successful, largely successful in crushing the revolts in the different Italian states. So what you have here, again, just as a quick summary, you have revolutions all across Europe, some of them quite successful in France and Belgium, but on the other hand, you have revolts in places like Poland and Italy that were unfortunately crushed by these big kingdoms and the large Austrian Empire.